Welcome back to Product Review Cars. My name's Cameron and today I'm in the 2021 Genesis GV80. But just because it's new on the market doesn't mean it isn't any good. It's actually quite the opposite. It's one of the best SUVs I've tested. And at the end, I'll give you an overall score and let you know if you should buy one of these. Now let's start off with build quality. The GV80 is surprisingly really well built. And why do I say surprising? Well, newcomers to the market don't often have a reputation for being super well built, but this is quite the opposite again. This is a really thoroughly well built car, and it's quite obvious from the outside. Everything's buttoned up quite nice, and the exterior trim and the way everything fits together is like a nicely fitted suit on the outside. So that is a major plus for the exterior build quality. On the interior, I was blown away by just how premium this cabin felt. Whether it's the headliner, which feels nice and taut and also is made out of a nice sort of carpet-like material, or whether it's these leather seats which are quilted, or the open pore wood. It is a great cabin experience in terms of build quality. However, unlike some European alternatives, there is some use of plastics used everywhere, mainly on the dials and such, and so it doesn't feel as like high quality to interact with as it looks sometimes, but that's only for some small dials. However, if you are cross shopping at this price point, it does score a 4 out of 5, because a 5 out of 5 would be, you know, premium materials used throughout rather than some plastics found here and there. But that doesn't detract from this being a very well-built car. And so let's jump into the value for money segment. Now this is a expensive car. It is over $100,000, and this one I'm driving, this GV80, is the 3-liter inline-6 turbocharged model. So that means you're gonna expect to pay around $113,000 for this exact model. And what do you get when you spend $113,000 on a car like this? Well, you get a killer exterior design. Everyone stops and looks at this thing. It is almost like a concept car rolling around on wheels. And you also got 22-inch wheels on the outside, which is normally a very costly option on some other European cars. And mainly on the inside, you get a lot of features that, you know, you don't even see at this price point with some other cars I've seen, you know, through Jaguar Land Rover, for example. There's heated and cooled seats up front, there's rear blinds, there's 7 seats in here, there's a ridiculous amount of space for the second row. So for value for money, I'd say 4 out of 5, simply because, yes, this still is an expensive family car. However, 4 out of 5 because it does score very well against competitors which wouldn't offer many of these options that you find here as standard. You would have to tick a few options on European alternatives to get what you see here. Now let's get into the maintenance category. Now, this comes with a 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty. It's standard across Hyundai's products, and it's still applicable on the Genesis, which is good because some premium brands do cop a smaller warranty for whatever reason. Not here. You get the same 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty you'd find in every single Hyundai product. And look, in 2021, I would just expect a 5-year warranty, and unlimited kilometers should be pretty expected as well. All your servicing is free for 5 years, helping win over more customers. Now, also, if you need to put your car in for a service, Genesis will come to you if you buy a new Genesis, which is really cool. So they not only will do that, they'll take your car away to the servicing center, and additionally, they will give you a complimentary hire car for that period of time. Now, I know other brands do that, but you normally have to be up in the upper echelon of those car brands. So you have to be spending, you know, in excess of $150,000 to be able to get access to those sorts of services. Where Genesis, doesn't matter which model you buy, you will get those services access to you. And it just takes away the pain of having a luxury car, which usually is having to take it to the servicing center and get slapped with a ridiculous bill because, you know, things are expensive on expensive cars. So I am actually really impressed with the maintenance offering on the Genesis, even compared to any other car that I've tested. So it scores an immediate 5 out of 5. And so next is noise level. And this is a luxury SUV. So we want a luxury SUV sound experience. And do we get that? Oh boy, we absolutely do. It helps that this car has a lot of sound editing, but on top of that, it also has active noise cancelling. Yes, like those headphones that you probably use all the time. And it's really cool because it sort of finds a frequency that's happening on the outside and it will try and eliminate that using the speakers. And it does have an upgraded Harman Kardon sound system, and look, it's really quite good. Although it isn't crispy clear right in the top end of the sound, it's just a little bit murky, but that doesn't take away from the listening experience. It is still a very good listening experience, and it's helped from this cabin being so quiet. And so for the noise level category, the GV80 does score a 5 out of 5. It's one of the best and most quietest luxury cars I've been in terms of a sound experience. I'm very impressed with this car. Now let's move on to braking and how this car drives. The GV80 is not a performance car. It's quick-ish, but it's not going to be a replacement for like an SQ5 or anything that might have been a bit more sporty in your car ownership past. Instead, what it offers is a luxury experience, and that is something you got to keep at the front of your mind. Even though this will score against other, SUVs and even some performance SUVs, you got to keep in mind that this is more of a luxury car. So the braking experience isn't going to be bitey, it's not going to be super aggressive, or it's not going to feel like you've got a giant set of rotors. Instead, what it does really well is offers you an amazing amount of control of being able to come to a stop smoothly, and that helps with making sure your passengers don't feel car sick, it doesn't feel lurchy, and here you have great brake control with these brakes here. Now, since these aren't the most amazing set of brakes I've felt, they're not super bitey, or they're not something that I would imagine taking to a track day, for example, I'd bring it down to a 4 out of 5, which means it does the driving experience a great amount of justice for a luxury car like this. But yeah, if you have a bit of a sort of inner car enthusiast in you and you want to take this around some bends and twisty turns and all that sort of stuff, they're not the sort of brakes I'd be wanting for that sort of driving. Now, this is an $100,000 car, so you would hope that you would get some good acceleration performance, which is my next category I'll be looking at. And look, you've got a 3-litre inline-6 turbo diesel up front. This does produce 204 kilowatts and 588 newton meters of torque. Now, for an engine of this size, that's not a phenomenal amount of power. What it is that it sort of feels like you're not straining this motor, which allows you to sort of feel like, this might have a bit more longevity in it than something that might be a bit smaller and pumping out a lot more power. It's just the nature of mechanical wear and tear. So, still a whopping amount of torque, 588 newton meters, but the kilowatts, 204, it's respectable. And that means you can get 0 to 100 in 6.8 seconds or around there. Now, that's not blindingly quick, and it's not the quickest SUVs we've tested here at Product Review for over $100,000. But what it is a respectable amount of power, and the way this power comes on is really impressive, because it's not like a traditional turbo diesel where you sort of dig into it and all of a sudden the big turbo kicks in and you're thrown into your seat, or it's a bit lazy on getting on the power. It does drive really silky smooth, and it's something that I would expect of an inline-6. It's really a lot of fun to drive in this car. It's not the quickest, but the amount of power is so good for a car like this, and for that I'll give it a 4 out of 5. And that brings me on to suspension and handling. So this has 22-inch wheels, and usually what that means is that you're not gonna, have the best riding experience, because as cool as 22-inch wheels look, unfortunately, they have a notorious reputation of just ruining the ride of everything they touch. And so you get that concept car look, but you don't get that sort of luxury SUV ride. That's not the case here. Genesis have obviously worked really hard to make sure you can get a car that looks this good with these wheels, but also drives and rides as a luxury car should. Look, if I was blind testing this car, I'd say maybe this has 19-inch, 20-inch wheels max. 22s is something I'd completely be unexpected of. And that's because if you look at Genesis' website, they talk about having cameras facing forward, and they sort of read the road, so it helps, prepare the suspension for any sudden jumps in the road or anything like that. Now, if you do come across an aggressive pothole or, even an aggressive speed hump, sometimes the wheels do make themselves known, and that's when you went, oh, yep, I'm on 22-inch wheels, but that's pretty rare. When I'm riding around, I just feel like I'm floating along the road, which is a great experience. And now for the handling, you do have some drive modes here. So you have Sport, Comfort, and Eco or Custom. Going through corners, this all-wheel drive system paired up with these Michelin, tires is just, it's a really good driving experience. And the weighted steering here does feel a tad artificial. And look, it's not the worst thing in the world, could be worse. However, you know, it doesn't feel as natural driving. It does feel like you're playing a video game, you know, with this sort of artificial weighted steering. But the way the car conducts itself through corners is really impressive. So overall, I give it a 4 out of 5, only because this obviously isn't designed to be as flat as possible. And then when you really do get into it, you do feel a tad of body roll. Now, complementing this driving experience is the 8-speed gearbox. It is very, very good. It does a fantastic job of communicating across all of its gears. There's no real mischiefs happening. There's nothing clunky going on, nothing egregious. It's all happening very smoothly in here. And I'm very impressed with the actual performance of an 8-speed like this. I've been in some other luxury cars, and look, occasionally they sort of mix themselves up or they sort of get a bit shocked but going between gears, but not here. It does a fantastic job of just seamlessly shifting through the gears, and you hardly ever notice a shift. And so only because this offers paddle shifters and, you know, a sport mode, it's intended to sort of be a bit sporty at times, but it doesn't really deliver in the sort of sports gearbox department. What it does really well is a smooth and, you know, very seamless gearbox. It will score a 4 out of 5 only for that reason. Now let's talk about fuel efficiency. The combined fuel efficiency is around 8.8 litres per 100 Ks. And look, what have I been getting? Well, instead of 8.8 litres per 100 Ks, I've been averaging around 14.3 driving around the suburbs. So with that, I will give it a 3 out of 5 for the fuel efficiency, and that's the real world efficiency. Okay, so let's talk about interior design. The interior design of the Genesis GV80 is one of my favorites. Everything here is really logically put. Apart from the ergonomics of the touchscreen, which I can see this wasn't fully intended to be a touchscreen at first, now it's actually something more of a, you know, supplementary thing to do. So you can go up here and touch things if you need to, but more or less Genesis wants you using this little touchpad down the bottom. So I like the duality of that. Beautifully laid out. I really like it. And to be honest, the interior design score does get a 5 out of 5 simply because it does the family car stuff in terms of the packaging and space, and also does the luxury part really well. I love this interior. Now, the boot space in the Genesis with the second row up and the third row folded flat is quite generous already. It's got a nice flat load floor that goes all the way through, and it makes it really easy to throw things in and out of. I love using the boot of this car. And then if you fold all the seats down using some buttons in the back, you can get over 2,000 litres by just having those seats folded, and you don't even have to get out of the boot and go around to the side to do that. You can just simply press some buttons at the back to be able to fold them down. Now, as for comfort, amazing. I am just blown away by how comfortable this car is to drive. The inputs of the steering, the inputs of the accelerator and the brake and the suspension all working together is just really impressive. And it's one of these cars I'm going to sorely miss when I jump into any other car, because it just does the luxury driving experience so much justice, and it really underscores that sort of definition of what a luxury driving experience should be. And it's one of these cars that I never got any complaints about the ride. There was no bumps that sort of scared people or anything like that. This is a very comfortable car, and I think that's its first and foremost thing that it wins here in this category. So for boot space and comfort, it does score a 5 out of 5, as it does both really well without much compromise. And finally, the features. There are plenty of features on here. However, some standout ones would be, you know, the partial digital driver's display, the heads-up display, the giant 14-inch display here on my left, and you've also got driving modes, terrain modes, all that sort of stuff. There's plenty of features in the cabin. Now, it is missing some stuff that some other Hyundai and Kia products get as standard, like rear heated seats. Because I know it's missing some features, it does get a 4 out of 5, but that doesn't mean it's featureless. It does really well in the features score. And so, should you buy a Genesis GV80? In short, absolutely yes. Go out and buy one of these, because the design has heads turning, and that is a really cool thing, because even if you have to explain the Genesis brand to someone, they're going to be able to look at it and go, that is a good looking car, because people have eyes. They'll be able to tell this is a good looking car both inside and out. And I think the features, the driving experience, everything else is well worth the price that this costs. And that's definitely if you're looking for a luxury driving experience. If you're not really really into the bigger motor, or you're not really into having a luxury experience like this and just are happy with how something like a Hyundai Palisade might drive, then you can go for a Hyundai Palisade. I think that would be a good compromise if you don't want to spend over $100,000 on a car. And so with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys checking it out. Make sure you are subscribed because it definitely encourages us to make more review videos and put more content out there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.